Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to the Web of Wonder. My name is Jennifer Irene. I'm here today to talk about the new moon that we had. It already happened on July 24th. I'm a little bit late because of the circumstances that I'm navigating right now. Probably your life is crazy too at the moment. And that's why I'm here. That's why we're doing this, right? It's never too late to reflect, and actually, it's still a perfect moment to reflect and look back because we have so many planets in retrograde right now. We have a lot of reflective energy, anyways. So, this new moon happened in Leo in 2 degrees. The moon and the sun are together, they're joining forces. It's always an emotional moment. It's always a moment of realization, yeah, because our cognitive self, our sense of identity, our realm of meaning is meeting the realm of emotions, is meeting the realm of sensing, of intuition, also of nourishment. And this one has been especially demanding, I feel, yeah. So there are some really important aspects happening right now. The first one is this new moon is happening in opposition with Pluto. So this is already showing us there's an opposition, there's a push-pull, there's an energy that really wants confrontation right now, and Pluto is the lord of the underworld. It's the energy of evolution. It's the energy of karma. It's the energy of a really profound change that is not just a surface level change, but it is a changing of something at its core. So we're confronted with this change. We're confronted with this karma also. We're confronted with this sense of needing and wanting to evolve. Pluto is in Aquarius, so this is already quite a rebellious way of needing to evolve, wanting to evolve. And yeah, this push-pull with Leo, yeah, this is always a question of independence and collective needs, desires, energies, evolution. Pluto is sitting there in the collective evolution part, yeah, that is Aquarius. It's a sign that represents individuality, but it's also really about the collective, about understanding the individuality as part of something greater. And Leo is very much about independent individual expression, also understanding the importance of personal unique expression. And that is where the moon is sitting, and that is where the sun is sitting. So this is a moment to really sense about our personal needs. And the difficulty here is putting them in the context of the collective evolution, is seeing our role. Leo is also about performing, about taking the stage, about playing a role, about acting something out. So this is also understanding, like, what role do I take in society? Where is my role helping to evolve society? Where is society evolving my role? Where am I wanting to step in, but I'm afraid? Because Leo is also touching upon those topics of courage, of fear of being seen, censoring expression, all of these things. But another reason why this is so intense right now is because there's a sextile between this new moon in 2 degrees and Uranus that has just entered Gemini in 0 degrees still. It's a sextile to the new moon, which means it's a trine to Pluto. And this is really pushing us in those transgenerational ways. Yeah, Pluto and Uranus are both transgenerational planets. That means these topics that are being touched, they transcend the day-to-day life. They transcend my life and your life. These are really about long-term processes, and that's why they feel so slow, and that's why sometimes within 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, we don't understand what is even changing. It's hard to see the change, yeah? It's like when you have a child, you're a parent, and you see your baby every single day. Of course, you'll notice that it's growing, but it's so different watching your child grow from, 12 months, a year, to like 1.5 years. But someone who's not seeing that child every single day, they will see them at 1 year and see them at 1.5 years, and they'll be like, wow, this is a completely different human. This child has grown so much, has changed so much. And that's what these processes feel like from the bigger perspective. Yeah, looking back 200 years, in 200 years, we will look back at this moment and be like, wow, so much has changed. And if we take the moment now and look back 200 years, well, we're also like, that was a completely different lifetime. That has nothing to do with this life. And for the people living at that time, in those 2 or 3 years that they experienced a transit, they might have not understood what's changing at all either. And sometimes it takes time for something to really be visible, be noticeable. But with this sextile to Uranus, we are really confronted with our mind. Yeah, we need to be flexible. We need to be curious about new ways of thinking and processing information, new ways of communicating. This hugely implies a need to work in healing our communication patterns. Self-expression, Leo, plus Gemini, communication. This is how do I express myself? And Pluto, being aware of what is the impact? What is the karma that I'm creating? What is the cause and effect of how I speak, the tone of my voice, the intention of what I want to say? And I think every one of us can help that collective evolution by training our listening skills, training our speaking and communication style to being nonviolent. Yeah, being aware and conscious, understanding your programming, the sentences that you keep on saying, the words that you keep on using, exchanging those with new words, and really taking an active step here in adapting the way that you express, because ultimately we will all have to adapt that, and we can only reach changes in our mind if we also adapt the way that we are speaking, because every time you're speaking, you're manifesting, you're cementing something inside of your belief system, inside of your mind. And also, it really changes how someone else receives your information by certain words that you use, by the order in which you speak. Yeah, saying something first or later, priming a conversation, and also the tone, the intention and the tone. All of those things contribute to whether a person feels safe listening to you and is willing to actually hear. And those are skills that, of course, when there's a huge, when there's war, when there's violence, when there's genocide happening, it's difficult to believe that, yeah, these little small things will change or solve. But the thing is, while we're doing everything to try and stop what's going on in the now, we are also changing those little details so that as we continue living, it won't happen again. That's why change is necessary to actually change something, yeah? And everything that changes something is inducing a larger form of change that builds up over time. So, yeah, this is a moment where, of course, we are just kind of forced into those different ways of thinking, speaking, and constantly confronted. We're so confronted all the time that we are forced to reflect. We're forced to reflect about our society. We're forced to reflect about our cognitive patterns, our behavioral patterns, both in terms of, perceiving us as my government, my country, my neighborhood, my family, and perceiving you as me, I. So there's different levels where this is happening always. It's always happening in the macro, in the microcosmos. But yeah, this Uranus and this Pluto, they're gonna be here moving slowly. So this is gonna be a several year process in which we are fine-tuning and learning those new communication skills. And this is ultimately going to help. This is going to help you. So there's a really good reason to try it. There's a really good reason, to step over those old patterns. It's also sometimes hard to imagine that new things can be better or be different, especially when we haven't built up any kind of trust yet. So start small, but start somewhere. Really now's the time. Everything that you do has an impact. That was hugely the topic of the last month, was really understanding your impact. And now the topic of this moment right now is really understanding how your communication works and how that self-expression is formed, and also how words and concepts and information is programming your expression style, what you do, how you act, how you raise your family. All of those are Leo topics. And I think it's really key in understanding also how are you manipulated every single day by the media that you consume, by the words that you hear, by what you read in a newspaper, by how your neighbors are speaking, what your parent figure is saying to you or behind your back. Yeah, all of these words, non-spoken or spoken out, they all influence us. And so understanding the impact of words, of communication, is a really, really important act of rebellion. It's a really important act of disruption. Yeah, that's where a system can get disrupted, is by disrupting the propaganda in the mind and by changing the sentences, changing the narratives that allow you to think differently, that allow someone else to think differently, by bringing in perspectives that allow someone else to think about a new idea and a new thought. That is where a new action can be born. It's not born through force, it's born through understanding and through internal, like intrinsic motivation. So these are wide transits, so I feel like I could just keep talking about them forever, but let's focus in on some other important aspects from this new moon. Something that we also feel as why this is such a tense moment right now. Not just a moment of, yeah, it's easy to find new thoughts and new inspiration, but a moment of like, oh my gosh, this is serious, is because there's Venus in Cancer. I'm sorry, Venus is still in Gemini. We have Venus in Gemini, and Venus is squaring the nodal axis with the North Node, the South Node, that are in Virgo and Pisces. And conjuncting the South Node, so also squaring Venus, is Mars. So what does that tell us? We have two things here. First of all, Venus and Mars are in square. So this is always a moment of increased polarity, increased back and forth. He said, she said, two parts of inside of me that want different things. Just kind of, yeah, a conflict of what you want and what you feel you should do, or what you can do and what you feel you want to be done. And maybe even unclarity about which actions am I taking and what do I even want to manifest, what am I even desiring. And this plays out, as I mentioned, on a collective level, like a whole country of people being like, well, we want peace, but the actions that we're taking are kind of contradicting that. And yeah, the other important factor here is the South Node, right? We have the South Node, the North Node. The South Node is conjunct Mars, so this is like the tail of the dragon, but also one astrologer described it as the castle. Yeah, the North Node is like the jungle where you go out and you explore. You may or may not find treasure. It's kind of adventurous. And the South Node is the castle where you feel like you have control. You know everything. Everything you need is there. It's kind of your safe space, but it's also the space where you don't evolve. And so with Mars there right now, it's like really understanding your actions, discerning your actions, and specifically also taking actions to help you evolve out of there. This is like, okay, we're in the castle. Our actions are happening right now in the castle, in our safe space, in our comfort zone, but how can they prepare us to move? And how can they help us to, wrap up things that need wrapping up? Where can we find reconciliation? Where can we find forgiveness for ourselves, for someone else? Where can we heal a pattern that has been really standing in our way? Which action can we take to induce the change that we've been craving for years, but we've been afraid of? Where can we do all of those things? It's in Virgo. It's about finding the details and understanding what daily things in your life are actually limiting you still, or again, because it's never really been resolved. This is about checking in with those things that have really not yet been resolved. And so it's also a moment where it's okay, it's normal for something to come back into your life right now that you thought like, I thought this was over, and it's not over. It's okay. You are not failing. This is an important part of your path, of your process. It's okay that things are coming back a second, third, fourth time. You just deal with it again. And you deal with it maybe in a new way, maybe in a different way, or maybe you just do that one detail that actually has never even been done yet. And this is really a step towards health, yeah? This can also be regarding your health, of course. Where are you limiting your physical health that actually then limits you in taking other actions, and it becomes like a ladder, a stepping stone for you finding a way of success and a way of feeling like you're not successful. What's there, and what are the things that you have never fully digested in life? And this can be, that one horrible movie that you've seen that you haven't been able to get it out of your mind, and sometimes you lay in bed and it's suddenly there. That can be this horrific thing that you read in the news, and maybe there's a flame there that wants to inspire you to do something humanitarian for that cause, but you've just kind of repressed it and it's just been lingering there. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's an actual digestive issue, an actual physical thing. Or maybe it's calling out your politicians to deal with that one detail that is keeping us all from evolving, whether that be releasing files that have been promised and that are really necessary to understand what's going on and to prove people guilty or not. Maybe that's, governments like sending food, but not being able to assure that food is actually being transported into the area where people are starving right now, that humanitarian aid is just kind of sitting outside there. And what is the one detail? Like, why are people still starving? It's there, but what is the detail? And really pushing for action in those areas. Really pushing for action. Because on the other side, the North Node, this is about the belief, this is about the spiritual understanding that either enables or disables. This is the belief system. This is the level of compassion that is there or not there. This is the unconditional love that is there or not there. And with Mars in the South Node, there are details that need to be fixed. This is about details. This is not about understanding the big picture. This is about details. This is really about details. And people are like, woo, it's Leo season. This is our time to shine. But it's really a challenging moment right now, I would say. Really challenging. And also, from generation to generation, this is just a little personal insight. If you are born in the early 90s, like me, like between 91 and 93, this is a challenging month because your Chiron is basically right now first going to be transited by the sun. So you're going to have a bunch of reflections about your biggest fear and your wound and where you're limiting your self-expression, or where you feel that you're never being seen, never understood, that you never are given space to really fully express yourself, or to play, or to just be creative, or that nobody cares about your creations. At the same time, Mercury's retrograding over that Chiron. And then Mercury retrograde and the sun are meeting. So it's going to be a big boom of awareness. Also really concerning those shifts in perspective, those words that you're using, the way that you're communicating, expressing, and it might be painful, but trust me, this is so that you can become better. These are the hard things that actually shape your character and help you to build the skills that you need. And recently I was talking with a client actually, and she mentioned a situation, and we talked about it, and one of the things that she said was, when I asked her a reflective question, and she said, well, it's showing me that right now I just have to put my own needs aside and wait until the changes can happen. And I invited her to rephrase that because it just really caught my attention, this I have to put my needs aside being the lesson. And I feel that it's never the lesson to put your needs aside. It's always the lesson to understand your needs, connect with them, learn to express them. If you can't do that outwardly right now, then learn to express them to yourself. Never put them aside. Always notice them, honor them, learn to express them. And what I invited her was to rephrase this as, I am in a challenging situation where I am learning to build the character qualities that I need to make this situation better. And that was a really powerful shift. Just understanding that the lesson is not putting my needs aside and waiting. The lesson is that I have needs, they're not being met right now. So right now my task is learning to build my character and strengthen the qualities and abilities that I need to improve my situation. And that reminds me of another client session where the topic went really heavily also into the communication realm. It was a tarot reading, really connected with air element as well. And I remember in one moment of the session, the topic came to how we are phrasing sentences about life. And what I received in that moment was the invitation to change those sentences and make yourself an active part, giving yourself an active role, so that you can understand which choices you are actually making. For example, if something bothers you, instead of saying, oh, this bothers me, yeah, that's like making yourself passive. Something is bothering you, doing something to you. Flip it around, make yourself an active part. How can you do that? By giving yourself a verb. Which verb are you doing? Well, I am feeling bothered, yeah. Still kind of similar, but now you're active. I'm feeling bothered. Now you can understand where to take a different action. I can stop feeling bothered. Or saying something like, I am choosing to let this bother me. So how can you change the action now? Well, I can stop choosing. Or I can choose something else. Or I can choose to see something different. Or I can choose to talk about it. I can choose confrontation. But now you're already more in the active role. Or for example, if you're really burnt out by your job, yeah, because they're just demanding so much from you, and you have to work overtime and all of these things, and you can tell yourself the story that my job is demanding too much of me. Or you can tell yourself, my job is burning me out. My job is burning me out. It feels so passive, right? It feels so, already my body wants to my job is burning me out, wants to protect. So how about we open up our shoulders? Yeah, we raise our head, we look up. And then we ask ourselves, what passive role am I taking in that sentence? Yeah. And how can I change that? How can I notice what is my active role? So instead of saying my job is burning me out, you can say I am burning myself out with this job. Similar situation, but now there's the understanding that, oh, I am burning myself out. So what needs to change? Well, I guess I need to change something. Not the job needs to change something. I need to change something. It's empowerment. It's giving yourself back your active role so that you can understand what is actually in your palette of actions that you can take right now. And you can do this in many different ways. There's no right or wrong. It's just about figuring out what is true for you. So you can also say, instead of my job is burning me out, saying, I am choosing to work overtime right now because I understand the importance of it. Or I am choosing to work overtime right now because I don't see a different option. It's still showing the situation, the challenge, the complexity of the situation, but you are now in an active role. You're choosing something, you're noticing something. You can also say, I'm noticing that my job feels too much for me right now. And always bringing yourself back into that active role. And you can try that with many different areas. And if you need some support, you can write your topic in the comments and I will support you in finding a sentence to help you shift that perspective. Yeah, I'm super happy to do that if you're willing to share. Of course, you can also always contact me for like personal guidance and one-on-one sessions, because I understand that it's so important sometimes for someone else to help us mirror something and sometimes even give us a new insight. Where do we get these things from if we've never heard them, never learned them? And so someone who you can work with, a coach, a guide, someone working with Astrology Tarot, like I do all of those things, but it can also be someone else that but somebody who's actively learning those things, engaging with them and inspiring their own minds. So to help you bring that into your awareness too can be really life-changing. Yeah, it can be the first step that you take to really understanding something. I'll leave all of the links for that below. But back to the astrology. Yeah, we have this square between Venus and the North Nodes. This is really a moment of karmic change where the topics feel really intense, they feel life-changing, they feel radically important. It's really about the details. We have the new moon and our question of what is my role, how can I act? Yeah, where can I step up? Where can I be courageous? Early 90s people are gonna be triggered a little bit more, and everyone else is gonna be triggered a bit later. But yeah, Chiron is no joke. Like this has been some really suddenly eruptive topics as well. I think that is because of Uranus in Gemini. This is like topics that you don't usually talk or think about are just suddenly coming into the field. You have a sudden impulse to watch this one video or read this one article or have this one conversation where somebody just mentions it and you can't overhear it. And then suddenly you're confronted with it out of nowhere. That's what it feels. So it's important to keep your calm. Yeah. Notice what is becoming alive inside of you. And then understanding which actions can you take. What are your choices? You always have choices. And if your choices feel limiting, then sometimes it's good to widen that perspective. Yeah. I would like to share the Sabian symbol because it's very on point for this new moon, I'm sorry. And we have the new moon in 2 degrees and 8. So this is the third degree of the Sabian symbols. And I'll just read it from the book. I have it open here. A middle-aged woman, her long hair flowing over her shoulders, and in a braless, youthful garment. Keynote is the will to meet the challenge of age in terms of our modern society's glorification of youth. And the text reads that while the original symbol is from over 50 years ago, yeah, it spoke of the mature woman having dared to bob her hair. Today, a similar kind of rebellion against aging and the customs of late middle age would manifest itself in different ways. The meaning of the symbol can be extended to any desire an individual would have to claim their right to experiences of youth, which may have been denied, especially when, according to the fashion of the day, are considered highly valuable. And this stage symbol implies a reorientation of one's ideal of action in relation to the collective mentality of the social environment, more particularly a refusal by the individualized consciousness to be bound by biological or social standards. And I think that this is very important. It doesn't have to do with beauty or, facelifting and Botox and those kinds of things, but it's really this last part, the refusal by individualized consciousness to be bound by biological or social standards. And I think this is a really powerful symbol that shows me that this new moon is very supportive in us actually being able to do what I just mentioned, that rephrasing, reprogramming, noticing like, actually, this is like a programmed standard. I'm willing to rebel. I'm willing to resist. I'm willing to stand up. I'm willing to not join the army. I'm willing to not stay silent about this topic. I'm willing to not let myself not share, my latest project, my latest art piece because of a fear, or because somebody else says this isn't good art. It's all of those things. Yeah, beauty is just one of those expressions. And beauty also extends to what we deem to be beautiful. The beautiful culture that we have, the beautiful, ceremonies and rituals and social events that we have. All of those things are beautiful, and all of those things are meant when we use the word beauty. It's not just about skin and makeup, but it's also about which actions are beautiful. Yeah. Which words are beautiful, which sentences are considered beautiful, a way of speaking. And those things have changed over time. And it's individuals who are continuing to change that. So, yeah, this is an interesting moment. I would like to finish this reading with pulling one tarot card for us to support us in this moment. Just give us a piece of inspiration about what to do, what we can really do, and how to keep our focus. This is the card that just fell out. And this is the 9. This is the crone. And this is so beautiful because when I started this whole video, I was talking about something and I just suddenly really felt the 9 and the energy of the hermit. And someone recently asked me, I was interviewed for the Berlin Flow newsletter, and one of the questions was, 2025 is a year with the number 9 as a cross sum. Yeah, 5 and 2 and 2. And how does that relate to the experiences we're having this year collectively? And for me, immediately the 9 came as the tarot, the hermit. It's a moment of finalizing something. It's ending something, but it's not in the new beginning as like really, really being finished. It's more like, no, this is a finalization where we are showing our mastery. We are proving what we've learned. We're proving our skills because we're applying them, because we are now cultivated wisdom. And wisdom is not the same as knowledge. And also that means right now, knowledge isn't enough. Knowing about things isn't enough. We need to be wise about them. And that implies actions. But it implies actions guided by light, by integrity. In this case, the crone is guided also by, the star, and this is the morning star. The crone is consulting life, is consulting with things that are beyond the daily life, is consulting with things that are beyond the visible even. But this crone is still able to see. And there's also a little Ouroboros here. So it's like also the connection to those cycles. And that symbol, the Ouroboros, it's the snake eating its own tail. Because it is not afraid of death, because it knows that there's a cycle of regeneration. Because it knows that changing something about myself doesn't mean that I'm no longer important or that I was wrong. It means that I need to change now because of the circumstances, because I am adapting to my circumstances, because I'm able to, because I'm flexible. And that is also a quality of youth, right? What does it mean? We all want to be young. Well, then we need to be young in our minds. We need to stay flexible. We need to try different things, create new slang, do new experiment. Keep our bodies flexible so that our mind can stay flexible, so that we can stay healthy. Because when we're healthy, we also feel better. And when we feel better, we are inclined to have different emotions. And when we have different emotions, we take different actions. And all of that influences the world and how healthy we can all be together. And if we have clean air or fresh water, or if people next to us are dying, are being killed or not, all of those things influence each other. So this is a moment of, it's a metaphorical isolation, which means going inwards to your own influence and feeling and sensing your truth, your wisdom, your reality, so that you have an accurate point from which to reflect. Because if you're reflecting from a reality that you think is yours, but actually it's not yours, it's not what you are physically living and embodying, then it's difficult to get results. So this is about understanding yourself, acquiring your own knowledge, and then acquiring wisdom by implementing that knowledge. So understanding where your knowledge is important to be implemented right now, and ultimately remembering the guidance of the light, of the morning star, of the light that returns each day, the new day, of being reminded that there is a continuation. And that is why the implementation is important. That is why the action is important. Because even outliving you, there is a continuation of life. And your actions change how that life will be affected. And I think this is a beautiful card, really inviting us to understand that we are wise. You are wise. You have wisdom. And sometimes wisdom comes from years of training, or from listening to someone else, listening to an elder speak, listening to someone with experience in that realm speak. Wisdom doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's exercised, it's built, it's cultivated, it's founded, and then it's lived, and then it's applied, and then it's embodied. So with the 9, with the crone, that's beautiful, because it's also the 10 and the 1 here. It's also the magician and the wheel. So it's about understanding what to do with your knowledge. Understanding all the different elements at play, but like, what do we do with them? We could do anything with them. We are so powerful, we can do anything. We can destroy. But asking yourself, what is the wheel? What is turning? What do we want? What will happen after that? What will happen beyond where my mind has thought already? And does that maybe change my intention, my morals? What gives you integrity, actually, to continue learning and moving? And what do you need to feel like you are enabled to allow evolution to happen to yourself, and therefore supporting the evolution? I'm going to end this now here with this card, and I want to say thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me. If you've even listened this far, please let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear who finishes the videos, and I would be really happy if you are considering subscribing to the channel or giving it a like. All of that shows me that it's reaching someone. It helps me feel like there's an impact that is happening, that someone is grateful for what I'm doing, because that is how you can help me to continue also doing this and feeling like I'm not just talking against a wall, but that actually there's someone there listening. It's so important for like people doing stuff behind a camera to kind of really feel that there's another actual human there, because that's what I'm desiring, right? I really want to connect to you as a human. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be super happy and honored if you choose to come back, or if you choose to share this video with someone because you find it valuable and you want someone else to also benefit from it. And as I mentioned, if you are in need of support, or if you want some inspiration or some guidance, or you're just curious about the tarot, or you want to understand your personal chart better, for any of those things, you can reach out to me and we can book an online session or an in-person session if you are in Berlin. And I work also with systemic constellation and things. I do also long-term coaching. If you would really want some changes in your life over a longer period, I can support you with that. So you can check out my website and send me a DM or something. And feel free to check out also the other links below. I'm a musician, I do art. So I have my Chiron in Leo, and it's a bit, still a bit challenging sometimes to feel like recognized or heard, or to step out of that comfort zone of really showing and sharing about those things. So I'll leave some links below. There's videos that I make connected with music and poetry. Some of them are like ceremonial videos, like elemental rituals. Some of them are live looping sessions, and some of them are like art films almost. There's like a 30-minute art film there. I'd be really curious what you think about it, because it's it was very like passionate project of mine. And yeah, or listen to some songs on Spotify or check out my Instagram page. Enough about me now. I'm so grateful that you're here. I send you lots of love, health, for you to be able to contribute to the world's healing. And I hope to see you soon again. Lots of love from me. Goodbye.